So, you're new in town, huh? The strong silent type, huh? Ain't you got nothing to say for yourself? Yeah, I see what you mean. This town ain't big enough for the both of us. Huh? 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 I'll get my coat. Oh, isn't that great? Just complete silence as I drive off. Being a new EV driver, this is the sort of thing that I still marvel at. Most of you probably watching this have owned EVs all your life, maybe, and you won't be surprised by that silence, but it's just so quiet. I love it. So let's have a look at the external of the Ariya, and I have to say that this is such a lovely looking car. I first saw this in publicity shots, and in those publicity shots it's in the copper colour, and I think the copper colour is really nice. But this is the kind of standard colour. It's called Aurora Green, and it's really nice. I think for a standard colour, for a free colour, it's really very, very pleasant. In fact, I have to say that some of the two-tone colours that they do are particularly nice. And the reason for that is that you can see the kind of black over the top of the wheel arches here that stand out, that don't really stand out on the Aurora Green so much. But whatever colour you choose, I don't think you'll be sorry. And let's have a look down the side of the car here. One of the things that I do like about this, a lot of EVs for some reason come with kind of flat handles. You get that on the Ioniq 5, I know. I think the Teslas have got it, haven't they? And while that's kind of sleek and probably there for aerodynamic reasons, I'm pleased to see that Nissan have kind of decided, well, we don't need to do that. We can put proper handles on here, and I kind of like that. And I think it's those sorts of little design cues that are going to help when people are making the switch, as I did, from an ICE car. You kind of don't want too many differences all at once, maybe. I think the sweeping lines of this car are fantastic. It goes all the way around the back. It has a long light that goes all the way along the back of the car at night, which looks really cool. And you have these kind of connected up design cues going all the way around the car, which just look fantastic. On the right-hand drive cars, you'll have the charging port here on the left, and it's the opposite way round on the left-hand drive cars. Now on the front of the car, you have these kind of boomerang running lights, which look really, really cool. A friend of mine, Mr. EV, said that he thought that the car looked like a beast. And I kind of know what he's coming from, because it's quite tall and it's got this very black, sleek look at the front. It kind of has that kind of aggressive look. I think it's more passive aggressive, maybe. In fact, I'd urge you to go and look at this car in person, because when you look at it up front, I think it's more of a kind of cuddly bear, really. It kind of wants to wrap you up and give you a big embrace. I don't think it's aggressive at all. I actually think it's just understated in a weird way for such a big car. It really grows on you and you feel kind of comforted by it in a weird kind of way. I just love the way it looks, and I don't think it's trying to be anything too mad. I just think it's looking sleek and lovely, and I really, really like it. Now, one of the things I really like about this car is the high seating position. Of course, that's not that unusual in an EV, but the last time that I owned a car that had a seating position that was elevated like this was when I owned a Toyota RAV4 back in the day. So that, remember Toyota? Remember they used to make cars? Do you remember? And whatever happened to them? Anyway, I like the high seating position in that car. The only downside of the RAV4 back in the day was when you used to put your foot on the accelerator, nothing would happen. I think the 0 to 60 time in that car was about a week and a half. Whereas in this car, when you put your foot on the accelerator, oh yes, it responds. It responds all right. Right, let's talk about the space in here. Because this is an EV, there is a lot of cabin space in this vehicle. You kind of expect that. So what about storage space though? Well, down here in the doors, yeah, that's quite big, quite generous storage space in the doors. I think that's quite good. They've done well there. But when you look here in the center console, this is big. I mean, it's big, but storage space, well, okay. In here, you can put some bottles in here, and these are quite decent in size, probably bigger than the ones I had in my ICE car. So I haven't noticed a massive problem with putting things in there. That's quite good. You've got obviously your indicator here for your driving modes and e-pedal and all that kind of stuff. Now this looks quite big. I know in my ICE car, when this was a big storage thing, but in here, no. It's somewhere to put your phone because it's a wireless charging pad, and that's probably what all the gubbins is underneath. So you can put your phone in and charge it up. Quite good if your phone supports that, of course. Now there isn't an awful lot of room behind it. There's a thing back here. I thought, well, that you could put coins in that. Do you remember coins? You know, if you're living in the dark ages, you could put coins in there. I've put an RFID card in there, so I suppose you could put that in there. But there isn't much else in the way of storage space there. So hopefully that can be solved with the glove box. So here's the glove box. I'm going to open it. Yeah, now I think the problem is what Nissan have done here is that they have looked at the word glove box and they have made something into which you could put gloves. Not necessarily big gloves. I mean, you're not going to get any ski gloves in here, for example, but you might get a small pair of gloves for a teeny tiny person. Yeah, the problem here is not so much the size of it, it's the fact it goes to quite a point, which means you can't put anything in this kind of front area. You have to put everything at the back, and then you have to slam it shut. However, the Ariya has a second glove box, and it's here. Now the problem with the second glove box is that it is even teeny and tinier than that glove box. But I have worked out what this glove box is for, and it is for keeping pound coins in. Well, a single pound coin, you can put it in here like this, and then you can close the box just about because it's now full. And then on that one occasion when you do actually need to pay for parking with real money, you can go, I've got it in my £1 glove box, and you can push the button if you can find it, and then you can take it out and put it in the machine. That's what it's for. I've worked it out. So this car is the advanced model. Now, if you are in a different part of the world from the UK, it's probably called something else, but it's the entry level one basically. And there are two trims, this one, the advanced, and then there's the Evolve. Now I nearly forgot what it was called. And in this one, you have a kind of a suede, they call it a kind of pseudo leather look. It's like kind of a PVC look. In the Evolve, you have this really rather nice suede finish. It's really, really nice. I really like that. Also on the Evolve, you kind of get a few extras that you don't get in this car. So let me tell you what they are, the differences really between the two models. Now in the Evolve, you will have a rear view mirror that has video capability. You can flick a button and then it will work with the video, which is quite nice. If you're perhaps giving Peter Crouch a lift a lot, then you might want to do that. You might want to have that video thing. That might be quite good. It has a Bose sound system in the Evolve. It's got a panoramic sunroof, which a lot of people would like. If you're kind of follically challenged like me, it's not quite so good. What else it got? Oh, the center console moves if you want to. It's powered, so you can move it about, which might be handy. The second glove box that I was complaining about earlier on, that's electric, that's powered. I think that's a bit of a gimmick myself, really, but you know, it has got that. It's also got another button, and the car will park itself, apparently. So if you're a bit rubbish at parking, you might want that. I'm sure there must be something else that's got that this hasn't. The main thing actually is that suede interior, because all of those other things that I've just described, you can spec up on this model, on the Advanced model. The only thing that you cannot get on the Advanced that you can get on the Evolve is that suede trim. Everything else you can spec up. So really there isn't a lot going on that's different between the trims. Whereas if you look at other cars, I mean, I'm thinking particularly when I was looking for other vehicles to buy, and I was quite interested in the ID4 at one stage. The ID4 has so many different trims that you can get that it kind of blows your mind a bit. This seems to be a little simpler in its structure, and I think that's kind of a good thing, really. The difference in price between the Evolve and the Advance here in the UK is about £4,000. So for all of those things, £4,000, I think if you've got the money, I think it's well worth considering. Okay, if I want to be slightly critical of a few things, and really I am being ultra picky here, under the back, if you want to clean this car and you don't want to take it to a car wash, you want to actually get a bucket out and a sponge, and I kind of like to do that. I like to feel that I'm doing something myself and I like to clean it. It's really hard to get your hand into some of these areas here at the back of the vehicle. It's all to do with aerodynamics, of course. They're not going to make it bigger just so that I can get my hand in there to clean it. But you've got weird little gaps in places that I just think are a little bit kind of odd. And also here on the doors, there's this kind of dirt area you can see here, because my car is slightly grubby at the moment, and you can see it's started to kind of get dirt all in this kind of little shelf here. I suppose it's to kind of closet everything and keep it all aerodynamic, but again, that is not great if you're trying to clean the car. And yeah, I kind of didn't have that on previous cars, but yeah, okay, I know I'm being ultra picky here. Now, both the Advance and the Evolve come with two battery sizes. This one, I've got the smaller battery, and it's a 63 kilowatt hour. It also has an 87 kilowatt hour, that's usable battery size. Now on this car, I'm supposed to get about 250 miles. I think that's a WLTP range, something like that. I picked up my car at the end of December, and I'm recording this in mid-February. So I've owned the car about 6 weeks. And in that time, I'm probably getting, okay, I'm not going from 100% down to zero, obviously, but I'm probably getting around 220 miles, which I think is quite good. I've been reading a lot of forums where people are saying they're not getting anywhere near that. Now, possibly the reason for that is I haven't done any motorway driving yet. I don't tend to go on the motorway very much. So I'm going around town, I'm driving around lots of little roads like I am at the moment. And so that probably makes a difference. But that means I'm quite confident that during the summer, I could be getting close to that 250. Now, compared to the Civic that I used to own, the ICE car, I mean, that would probably get in a tank of petrol, I don't know, 370 miles-ish, something like that. So this, of course, isn't anywhere close to that. But of course, the big difference is that I can charge this car at home, and it's so easy to do. I plug it in and I go in the house and I have a cup of tea, and that's great. It's much easier actually than going down to the petrol station, frankly. So if I've got to charge it up at home, that's no great shakes, to be honest. And how often do I have to charge it up? Well, I'm maybe only doing it once every 10 days or so. So that's no hardship at all. This EV-Lark is brilliant. So this car has an awful lot of toys on it. And in fact, all the Arias, right from the base model, which is what this one is, all the way through to the uber super duper one that costs silly money, have all got some really nice features, such as all of the collision mitigation stuff that you get on cars these days to make sure you don't inadvertently run over any cyclists or pedestrians. That's going forwards or backwards, which is brilliant. The little indicator things, just say if I'm getting too technical, in the wing mirrors on both sides that will tell you if a car is in your blind spot. That's handy. What's not to like there? And it's really good to see that Nissan have included these things as standard. In fact, when it talk about standard kit, this has got a heat pump. This is the entry-level model, and it's got a heat pump. How cool is that? Well, okay, it's not that exciting, but you often have to pay extra for things like a heat pump in an EV, and in the Ariya you don't. They just include it as standard, and that's really good. Kudos to Nissan for doing that. Also, you've got things like the same 12.3-inch screens. There's two of them here. Again, sometimes if you buy other cars, you will see that they have smaller screens on the entry-level car. But this one, bigger screens, same as you get on all the others. It's got privacy glass in the back. You don't always get that in cars unless you pay more money for them. It's got the kind of kick thing at the back when you can wave your foot about like an idiot, and then it opens up. Admittedly, it doesn't work very well, but it's nice that they included it. I mean, these things are all there as standard on the base model, which is really good. So as you would expect from an EV, you've got various different driving modes that you can use. You've got eco, standard and sport. I tend to just leave it in standard mode. To be honest with you, I haven't really noticed a massive amount of difference between the three, so I don't think I'm going to use that an awful lot. It's got drive, it's got B mode as well, which gives you a little bit more regenerative braking, if I can say that word. I tend to just leave it in D, but what I tend to do as well is to use the E pedal. There's a little button here, you can turn E pedal on, which is the one pedal driving. Apparently in the Nissan Leaf, the one pedal driving will take the car right down to a stop. In the Ariya it doesn't do that. It will go down to being quite slow, but it will still creep as you move forward. You have to put your foot on the brake if you actually want to stop. I wasn't sure about the one pedal driving, I suppose because I've never owned an EV before and it's something that was completely new to me. I tried it when I first got the car and I thought, oh, I don't know, because you feel the car is kind of locked into your foot. I mean, that's the whole point, I suppose. It's locked into you and you don't feel that kind of freedom, that coasting that you get when you don't have that engaged. However, as I've got more miles under my belt, I've found that e-pedal is something that I'm growing to like quite a lot, particularly if I'm out and about and I'm driving down country roads and there's perhaps a lot of change of speed limits, perhaps there's a bit of twist and turn, and the one pedal driving is really nice. It's a much better way of driving the car, much more relaxing, and even though yes, I'm having to put my foot on the brake if I want to completely stop, that's fine, because most of the advantage I'm finding of using an e-pedal is that change of speed and the going around the corners when you're not actually stopping. One thing where I could see it could be a problem for some people is if you have a Nissan Leaf and you also get an Ariya, you could get very confused when you're trying to use the one pedal driving and jumping between the two vehicles. I could see that could be quite annoying. Now this car is expensive, maybe, depending on your point of view, but it's very well built. It feels like it has a kind of premium edge to it. There are no squeaks or rattles anywhere. It really feels like it's been built well. And I think if you're spending this amount of money, then you kind of expect that to a certain extent. I believe it's got some kind of acoustic properties in the glass. I don't know how common that is in other EVs, but I know if my wife was sat in the car the other day, I was sat outside and I was trying to talk to her, I couldn't hear her. I couldn't make out what she was saying because it was so well kind of insulated with sound, which is amazing. I mean, which is great. It just adds to that whole experience of driving the car. So I haven't been an EV owner very long, just a few weeks, but there's no doubt that I would never go back to an ICE car. I mean, I look in this car and I drive it and I just feel so nice. And I know that I've made the right choice, to be honest. There's no two ways about it. This is the future. It's not the future. This is now. I can't imagine why anybody would not want to buy an EV. Okay, there probably are reasons, but I mean, you know, they're going away. The reasons not to do it are going away all the time. So what can I say in summary about this car behind me, the Nissan Ariya? Do I regret buying it? You might think because I've been critical in some areas that I do, but I couldn't be further from the truth. I absolutely love the car. It's such a pleasure to drive. I've got a stupid grin on my face every time I go out in it. I think it looks stunning. I think actually it's so well featured. Yes, I mentioned the price earlier on, but actually if you add some of the things that this car has as standard into some of the cheaper cars, you'll suddenly find that the cost isn't far off what this one is. Are there going to be downward pressures on pricing in the future? Yeah, of course there is, with all of these Chinese imports that are coming in, but that's kind of down the line a little bit. I think at the moment this car holds its own really well, and I just love it. I think it's fantastic. And if you are thinking of a Nissan Ariya, I urge you to go and have a look at it. Go down to your dealership, just take a look. I think they look much better in person than they do on film, and I hope that has come across a little bit in this film. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, ask any questions you may have, and I'll be only too pleased to answer them. And I'll see you for another video really soon.